Welcome back, my little explorers. So we were learning about how do plants reproduce. Let's learn about how new plants come out of seeds. So seeds play a very important role in the reproduction of flowering plants. A seed has a tiny plant or an embryo. Now first I told you there are two kinds of plants. One is flowering and one other one is non-flowering plants. So in flowering plants like rose or marigold or sunflower, a seed has a tiny plant or an embryo which is enclosed within an outer covering known as a seed coat. The seed coat protects the embryo within it and also prevents the seed from dying. I'll show you the parts of a seed. Then there is another part in a seed which is called endosperm. Now endosperm is the food store within the seed. So this is a seed. So there is, first of all, there is a seed coat. Now the seed coat is the outer covering which protects the seed. Okay, and it protects the embryo within. Embryo is nothing but a tiny baby plant. The endosperm is the food stored within the seed. So this is the food which is stored within the seed, which is used by the embryo for its development. Like how you need food to grow and to nourish yourself, embryo, the baby plant, also needs the food. So this food is stored in the endosperm. This temporary supply of food is in the form of special leaves known as seed leaves or cotyledons. Sorry, it is pronounced as cotyledon. So the special leaves, they are known as cotyledons. Now these are generally the first parts visible when the seed germinates. So whenever a seed germinates, these are the first part, that green offshoots that you see, these are these cotyledons. Now plants are classified depending on the number of cotyledons or seeds they have. A plant with only one cotyledon is known as a monocotyledon or monocot. Like grass and corns, they are monocots. Whereas a plant with two cotyledons is known as dicotyledon or dicot. So beans, they are dicots. Let me first show you these parts. So see, like I explained, these are the main parts of a seed. So first of all, there is embryo. Embryo is nothing but the tiny baby plant. Then there is the seed coat. Then this is the endosperm and cotyledon, which is the food supply. So these are the parts of the plant. Now, like I said, that there is a difference between monocot and dicot. See, in monocot seed, this is the seed coat, this is the endosperm, and there is only this part of food supplies there. Whereas in dicots, there are two parts of this. So di means two. So that's why there is these two are the cotyledons. These are the seed coat, and this is how you can have two plants, food supply in dicots. Here also you can see that this is the embryo and there are two cotyledons in this embryo. Okay. The process of growth of the embryo plant inside the seed is known as germination. So I'm sure you all must have tried germination when you were little explorers. Like when you put seeds into a soil and then you put water into it and it grows into a plant, it grows into a sprout. This is germination. Now seeds require the right amount of water, oxygen, sunlight and temperature for germination. This all is very necessary. So if you put a seed, you put a seed in the soil, and if you put it in a dark space, it will not grow because it needs sunlight. Similarly, if you do not give them water, then they cannot grow. So you need to give them proper temperature, proper sunlight, proper oxygen and proper water. Now, as the embryo starts to develop, the seed coat breaks open and a root or radicle emerges. The radicle is known by the shoot or plumule, which gives rise to the leaves and stem. So see, this is the seed, this is the seed coat. Then when it starts growing, a radicle comes, then your cotyledons come out, then the roots start forming and the plumule comes out, and these are your first leaves. Okay, so this is the shoot system, and this is called, the upper part is, the part above the ground is called shoot system, and the part below the ground is called root system. Now let's learn about seed dispersal. It is very important that seeds are dispersed over a wide area. The process of scattering seeds is called seed dispersal. So normally the farmers, they manually scatter the seed, but in the nature where there is no human present, still we see that plants and greenery and nature keeps on growing. This is because of natural speed dispersal. So if all the seeds fell and grew beneath the parent plant, it would cause overcrowding. All the plants will keep on growing in one place only, and they will be crammed together. Like how if all of us stood in one room only, there will be no space for all of us and we will feel suffocated. So it is a better idea that we all should stand little separately and we should give space to each other so that there is no crowding. This is the same logic that the plants also follow. So the seeds would, if there is overcrowding, the seeds would have to struggle for space, air, water, nutrients, and sunlight. Hence, seed dispersal ensures that all seeds get a better chance of finding the right conditions to grow in, so that everybody can get water, everybody can get air, everybody can get nutrients, everybody can get sunlight. So seeds are dispersed in various ways to form new plants. First is wind dispersal. Now, some seeds that are very light in weight are carried away from the parent plant by the wind. These include orchid and poppy seeds. Some seeds, such as dandelion, have hair-like growth that catch the wind and help carry the seeds away from the parent plant. So, let me show you a dandelion to you. You must have seen this kind of plant. So, see, a dandelion is so soft and light that it flies away by the wind. So, this is how it is dispersed by the wind. Then some seeds are hollow and filled with air and they get carried away by water. So like there are coconut and palm seeds, they grow near the sea or water bodies. So they have hollow seeds and they are carried away by water. Now coconuts may get carried away for thousands of kilometers across the seas and oceans, and they are planted in very different places. Then sometimes dispersal happen with the help of animals. Now, fruit form a part of the diet of some animals. While only the pulp of the fruit is digested, the seeds or the pips and stones get passed out of the digestive system and thus are dispersed. Now, before animals, let's talk about us humans also. So, we humans also, we like to eat some fruits. For example, if you eat apple, there are seeds inside the middle of the apple. You do not eat the seeds. So you throw away the seeds and they get planted, or you can plant them into the ground. Then you eat watermelon. Now you like to eat the red part of the watermelon, but you do not like to eat the black seeds. So what do? You can put them in the ground and you can grow new watermelon out of it. Or if you eat dates, so there is a pit, there is a seed in the middle of the date, that hard pit that you cannot chew. Or if you eat mangoes have such big pits. So instead of throwing away that hard pit, you can put it in the ground and you can help it to grow into a new fruit. So animals also do that same part, but animals do not do it consciously. How they do? For example, a goat or a cow is eating some fruit or eating some plant, or if a monkey is eating a mango from the tree. So what will happen? The monkey will eat the whole mango or the whole fruit, or the goat will eat the whole plant. Then whenever they go, they try to go and do potty. In their potty, this seeds, they come out because seeds are not digested by the digestive system. So they are planted into the ground by this route. So this is how animal dispersal happens. Now the seeds of a sea holly and burdock plants have hooks on them, which get attached to the fur of animals. The animals later shake off these seeds far from the parent plant and thus helping seed dispersal. Let me show you a burdock plant. See, this is a burdock plant. Now it has spiky this roots, or these are very spiky. So what happens is that whenever animal comes near the burdock plant, it will get stuck in it. Let me show you this plant. See, this bee is sitting on this burdock plant. So things will get stuck on this bee. So whenever this bee will go to some new place, it will shake off its body, and this is how seed dispersal will happen. So this is also one of the ways how animals disperse the seeds. Now to prepare for the cold winter months, squirrel collects acorns and bury them. The squirrels often forget about these acorns, which then grow into oak trees. This is a very interesting fact. Now there is also dispersal by explosion. Some plants such as broom, peas and beans have pods that explode as they ripen. So this explosion helps to scatter the seed. So whenever, like, you have seen an explosion of firecrackers, whenever you light firecrackers, they explode and light and gunpowder is dispersed. So same things happen with plants also, that when they are exploding, the seeds are scattered in the environment. Then sometimes there is dispersal by the gravity. Gravity is the Earth's magnetic force which pulls us all down. Whenever we jump from some place, we are pulled down because of gravity. So large heavy fruits such as apples just drop off the tree on the ground as they ripen. These fruits can then be carried away from the parent plant by animals, by water, or they might simply roll away. Very often their soft skin may burst open to scatter the seeds inside. You must have seen whenever you're walking in summers that you will see some mangoes fallen beneath a mango tree, or dates. You must, because we live in Kutch, you must have seen that sometimes you will see dates fallen near the tree. So this is because of gravity they fall down. Then either animals eat them or water carry them, or they simply burst open and the seeds inside scatter. Now let's learn about new plants from leaves, stems and roots. While new plants usually grow from seeds, they can also grow from the leaves, stems and roots of the parent plant. Now new plants emerge from the roots of the dandelion plant. Garlic is a special type of stem. So garlic is a stem, but it is a special type of stem. Cloves of a garlic can be used to grow a new plant. So let me show you the cloves. Cloves of garlic. So normally whenever you see garlic, it will have cloves like this. See, this is the bulb. This thing is the whole garlic. The packed garlic is the bulb. See, this is a garlic bulb, and inside garlic, these little tiny things, they are cloves of garlic. So it is part of the plant itself, but cloves of garlic can be used to grow a new plant. So you can even plant these cloves, which is part of the plant, but you can plant them to grow new plants also. Potato is also a stem which has buds or eyes. If we scoop out a part of the potato with a bud in it, we can use to grow new plants. So let me show you potato bud. Potato bud. So see, here you can see these are the buds in a potato. You can use them to, if you scoop this bud out where these plants are growing, you can plant it and you can grow new plants. Now some non-flowering plants such as ferns reproduce through seed-like structure called spores. Now spores are usually found on the undersides of the leaves and looks like tiny tufts of velvet. So you have seen sometimes soft velvety parts are there on leaves. So these are spores. Spores, when they ripe, fall off the leaf, and this is how they are dispersed. So let me show you spores. See, this is a fern tree, and you can see these spores under the leaves. So these are the soft velvety spores. So when they fall down, this is how seeds are dispersed. The leaves of some plants can grow into new plants. Bryophyllum has tiny leaves that grow around the edge of each leaf. Now if we pick these tiny leaves and provide them with favorable environment, the tiny leaves will eventually grow into new plants. So out of leaves also some plants can grow. Let me show you bryophyllum plants. So see, this is the bryophyllum plant. Here you can see that outside the leaves there are these tiny leaves. See, this is the main leaf, this is the big main leaf, and these are the tiny leaves. So these tiny leaves, they can grow into the plant itself. So this is how their bryophyllum plants grow. Grafting. What is grafting? A graft is used to reproduce varieties that are difficult to grow, such as apples, pears, hibiscus, rose, and so on. Grafting literally means joining parts of two or more plants together so that they grow as one plant. So what happens is that you graft. Let me show you grafting. Let me show you grafting of rose. Rose grafting. So see. Now in this, you are taking parts of two roses. See, you're taking parts of two roses. You're taking stems of two roses and you are grafting them together. See how here it shows how it happens day-to-day basis. So first you graft. See, this is one part of another rose and this is another rose stem. So you put them together. Then you see this is how it is grafting on day 15. On day 17, a new bud comes out of it. So grafting is also used where you try to create two stems or two parts of the plants together. Now a tiny part is remaining, that is plant adaptations, that we will cover in our next video. So please click on the next video. Thank you.